Today, on episode 8 of the Reaper Paranormal Show, we are discussing the Reaper Paranormal Investigations team. And I have two members here with me, Shae and Tom. Oh, as he's calling himself, Tommy.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys?
What's up? Yeah, that Tommy, I think you put that in one day, Roy, and I just never have changed it. The
Oh,
Tommy.
really?
Yeah, it's funny because it's like everybody at work calls me Tommy.
Oh.
It's weird. Around here, I get called Tommy. My father was named Tom, even though everybody calls him Tucker. And yeah, I was Tommy. But everywhere out, like when I lived in Chicago, people call me Tom. And then in Arizona, a lot of people just call me Thomas for some reason. And when I was lived in Louisiana, they called me T. And but around here, yeah, it's funny. Everybody calls me Tommy around
You know
here.
what they call me?
Roy.
Nope.
Blacktastic.
Blacktastic's one of them.
I didn't want to indulge him in that. That's why I
Black
didn't
Jesus,
say it.
Mandingo Warrior, Chocolicious, Sweetness, all kinds of good stuff. But I want to start off by saying we've had all kinds of audio issues today. And my two friends here think there was a specific reason that I had audio issues today. And if you want to know that reason, check out episode 4 of the Reaper Paranormal Show. And that's my damn dog giving his opinion. So let's jump into this, do a quick little podcast before Christmas. So, guys, what's going on?
What's up?
Not much.
How are you?
All right. So, when you guys doing the team, what was your first impression of the Reaper Paranormal team? Your first impression? Goofy? Craziness?
I thought you guys were so much more accepting than I really thought was possible.
Really?
Well, so my specific case, you were just, I didn't really want to be like outward and forthcoming with it with everybody. So I think it was after our first or second one together, I was very honest with you, and you were just really cool about it. You were very accepting. There wasn't, I didn't have to feel like it was like a shameful little secret, or like I was a jerk for not telling you the first time or anything like that. But you were very accepting. It was muchly appreciated.
Oh, thanks. Do you want to talk about what that was? Do you want to save it for later, or do you just don't want to discuss it at all? Or
I don't really know what to call it, I guess. My vivid sensitivity, maybe. My ability to communicate with things that not everyone can see and stuff
Tom,
like that.
I'm sorry, I made a job. Tom, why don't you ask Shae a few questions?
Well, were you done, Shae? I'm sorry. You're mid-sentence. Oh, okay. So I actually was thinking about this. We were talking about Gettysburg and how we want to go to Gettysburg and how it's it's super haunted and tons of places. Plus it was a battleground. So in a place like that, and I'm sorry if this question sounds ignorant, but would you does that make your sensitivity go crazy with that amount of like death and everything? Because that was my first thought, that it would be almost like a nightmare for you.
There are some places, or I won't say necessarily like to some places, but like there are some things that I will go to if I go to like any place that's like really heavily populated with people. In general, usually it's quite a bit more populated for me, and it definitely takes a toll, and it's definitely hard to kind of really pick one thing out from the other. But when you go to places like Gettysburg, which I would love to go to, that's definitely on my list. I haven't really had experience with something so catastrophic, so I don't know, such a big magnitude. So I honestly don't know how I'll do. I imagine it'll affect me. I'm sure I'll feel in all the ways, but I'm sure it'll not be very easy, but I totally want to try it.
Nice. Yeah, that was my, like, because we were talking about it, and then just like, because all the research we did, and just like, thousands upon thousands of deaths, and in very horrific ways, some of them, and I'm just like, ooh, that might be almost painful for her, like.
Well, when you throw the empathy in the mix, it really because the way it works for me is I feel I can't see everything and I can't hear everything. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, sometimes it's both. And I'm not saying I can sense everything that's around. I don't know. But I have the empathic tendencies, which makes an already pretty tense situation a lot more personal. Usually when I'm having contact with something else or someone else, I'll feel little things that give me a clue as to what they'll have experienced. Like sometimes I'll get pains in my head, or I'll get pains in my lung, or and it's a little scary sometimes, but it's kind of part of it. But I'd love to try it though. There.
That's wow. Yeah. That's that's awesome. So with that and being, sensitive, do you think that, or does it help you with living people, or does it make you not want to deal with living people more? Because I could see it going both ways with that, because you're so like sensitive and empath, like you said, like being empathetic, that it could be tough.
I struggle really hard being social. It's a lot for me. And I don't know that that's why I just always have. But at the same time, I've always been this way. But I mean, once I have a little time in a situation, I can acclimate, but I'm usually very uncomfortable meeting new people. I'm very uncomfortable in crowds. I'm very just, and I wouldn't be surprised if that did have something to do with it. I know, like I said, a crowded area is usually a little more crowded for me than probably the average person. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, yeah, there was two things that I thought of since your interview and in our, the shows that preceded that one that I was very curious about. So thank you for answering those.
Absolutely.
So what do you guys, what is your views on charging for investigations? Now, we don't charge for investigations. We don't believe in it, but there have been teams out there who have charged. What are your views on that?
I get asked by, not a lot of people know about me, but some of the people that don't understand why I don't charge for what I can do. And I don't believe in charging for bringing something. I wouldn't charge.
As far as charging for me, it's, I didn't even know that. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I never really thought about it. I just assumed that, most don't charge, but I guess now that you say it, it does make sense that some charge. Now, if the person was like Jeff Bezos, owned Amazon, and he wanted us to come, and I'd fucking charge that asshole. He doesn't pay taxes anyway. So, like screw him. It's but on the average person, no, because like Shae said, it's about it's helping people, and it's I don't know. I mean, I go back. It's like charging for something like that, but then people charge for astrology readings. I mean, that's big business. So I guess I can see both sides. For me, I like I said, I don't think I'd be a fan unless the person was just like ridiculous rich and just throwing around money and was not even really serious about it, just had money and just like, oh, I feel like doing a seance now, for no rhyme or reason. Sure, I'll take his money and fucking bilk him, but
I agree with that.
I don't think it's a great idea. What about you, Roy? What do you think about it?
Well, how can you charge for something that doesn't officially exist?
Well, that's what I was getting at, and then I was like, well, astrology, they do it. Tarot cards, they do it. They charge.
Yeah, but it's not. There's no proof that it actually exists. I believe it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but like, I don't feel right charging somebody for an investigation when there's no 100% proof that ghosts exist.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've said this to both of you. I might have even said it on an earlier podcast that 10 years from now, and I've thought about this, that we could be finding out that ghosts never existed. And yet here we do, we sit in a room in the dark, ask questions to the wall, and 10 years from now, it could be all for naught. Now, my answer to that is, if it is, I still had a lot of fun hanging out with cool people. So it really wasn't for naught. You know what I mean? Like, you still had, I personally still had a good time. Now, I believe ghosts exist, which is why I do it, but I want to find solid, hardcore proof.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the ramifications of finding out that it's not real 10 years from now means I need some serious help. That was detrimental for me. That could mean
you're adorable, but you are a little crazy.
I mean, well, yeah, I think.
But aren't we all for being in this field? Like, seriously, anyone in this field, aren't we all a little soft? Seriously?
Soft?
Yeah.
I never heard it put that way.
Yeah, neither have I.
It's a Royism.
Like, I'm a little fluffy, but
Fluffy's never a bad thing.
COVID.
I'm covered fluff. But no, seriously though, like I think we're all a little bit soft. I mean, no, it's not as taboo as it used to be 30 years ago. But like, still, I still get people going to me, "You do that?" You know, it's very rare now, but people still go to me, "Wow, you investigate?" I'm like, "Yeah, we have a team, and we go to people's houses and we help them, and you know."
So I have, now that we're kind of on this subject, I just thought of it because I just read this quote again, and I read it a little while ago. It's by the Warrens, you know, from The Conjuring. I can never remember the first names. Lorraine Warren.
Yep, Ed and Lorraine.
Ed and Lorraine. So when somebody was writing a book about them, interviewing them, a biographer, they said, and I think it was him specifically, but she was in agreement. She goes, they said, the people that come to us are crazy. Write whatever you want in the we'll give you the cases and make up the rest. And like basically just I just butchered the quote because I was overthinking it, but basically just saying everybody's crazy and it's all bullshit. What do you guys think about that, especially Ed and Lorraine, because there's such big people in this field?
Go ahead, Shae. I have opinion about it.
I struggle with 100% believing that she had nothing. I know it sounds weird because I don't know her or anything like that, but it's I get I call it a warble. I don't know how else to explain it, but I'll get like a buzzing basically, like in the base of my skull when I'm around certain types of people with certain abilities, and being anywhere near her house, that my head's gonna explode. I can't even.
Really?
I can't get around the fact that she doesn't. I don't doubt that maybe she exaggerated it some, and I think maybe to a point she was just so high and so she's royalty in this. You know, I feel like maybe some of it was said to downplay some of it to give her a break.
That's a good point, actually. I never really thought of that. So that's a really good point.
Well, I personally think that it was said in an article, so there's no proof that it was even said. Not saying it wasn't said, but if everyone was crazy, then why did they go through all the stuff they went through all those years before they were famous?
Yep.
That's my question to it. It's like you dedicated your whole life, so I understand, like, okay, some of it, but you dedicated your life, and there was a point when you first got into the field where you're not making money. You know what I mean? They're not getting rid. I mean, granted, maybe later in as it became more famous, but in the beginning, like you said, it was looked at differently, and it just was different. So I find that hard. So I agree with you there, Roy, for sure. I just see it. I see that quote, and it makes me sad when I see the quote, because there's such like icons in this field and everything, and then to hear it, even if they said that to throw it away, it's just kind of like a punch in the gut a little bit. But but who knows? Like what you said, Shae, who could be downplaying it. So
it's not open about at all.
Yep.
Terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it just, if they honestly believe that, why do they keep doing it? Why do they have all those artifacts in their house if they really didn't believe it? Why would you put a bunch of crap in your house?
So I can say I can kind of explain maybe one possibility there. There was a point that the Ed and Lorraine's house is not for business. They actually don't have the permits. They're not supposed to have visitors. They're not supposed to all that stuff. And they were trying to deter people after a certain point from coming to their house, and people would not stop coming to their house, and they were getting in trouble. They were getting fined. They were getting all sorts of bad repercussions. So that may have also been a tactic to stop that from happening, just for their own sanity and safety.
Yeah, that's a really solid sort of theory on that. That makes 100%. If they're getting in trouble, you're not supposed to have people there for whatever reasons, because of permits or whatever, and people are still coming up because people. I mean, I'd be one of those people checking out the house too.
They're looking in their windows and stuff, though. They're like just in their yard in the middle of the night.
And that's enough just to and to call everybody crazy, because they are looking through your windows and stuff. I can see that, like, just being frustrated and be like, they're all fucking crazy. It's that's totally solid right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as far as like our team, I think when I say that we're all a little nutty, and I honestly believe that, but we're also people with a bunch of common sense. Like when you do an investigation, you have to feel out people, because we went through a stretch in the paranormal community as a whole where people just wanted investigations to have an investigation. You got to a point where you're weeding out people that just want to see an investigation happen at their house. And then you have the flip side where we had people wanting us to investigate their houses, but they didn't want us to tell their spouse, or they want to do it when their husband wasn't around. And
those feel weird.
Yeah, we're not going to lie to people. We don't get involved with that. That's something, there was an incident where we were supposed to do an investigation at a very haunted location, supposedly, and the woman didn't want her husband to know about it, and we're kind of like, well, the husband ended up being a crazy dude, beat the crap out of his wife at a later date, and like, can you imagine if we did an investigation there and he found out about it? He was an MMA fighter too. On top of it, he fought in the UFC. So it's like,
I don't see you talking about that one.
Yeah, it's like that's insane. And then I get emails from a specific person who keeps saying he wants an investigation at his location, but I think he forgets he emails me. So every 6-8 months when he sends me an email, the activity changes and it's something totally different. And now, yes, activities can evolve, it can change, but you get a feel for when things are amping up and getting worse, and things where, no, this is totally different now. This is something like, so it's like, you're beating your head against the wall trying to figure out what's real and what's not. And I'm sure the Warrens ran through that too. So
I have a question that just came up from this, actually, because it's something that you had said, Roy. So was it like you're talking about, where you went through that phase where everybody wanted, just wanted something in their house, regardless, making up stories, whatever. Was that sort of around the time of like Taps and all the shows becoming big business? Okay. All right. Yeah. So right around that time when it became a big, big within the media and culture and stuff. So,
oh yeah, most definitely.
That makes sense. You see it on TV. And
I still get contacted by movie producers wanting us to be part of a TV show. And either I don't respond or I tell them we're good right now, but maybe at some point, and just move on with life. And people say to me at work, like, "Why, dude? You want to move on, do something different? Why don't you do that?" Well, it's pretty simple. And Shae, you know this. Once you sign on the dotted line, they own you. And Tom, you know this also. They own you. Mm-hmm. They can do anything you want. They can take over our team. They totally own us. And
I feel like we'd be alienating people too that maybe need the help but don't want the cameras. Well, I mean, you know what I mean by cameras. Obviously, they want our cameras, but not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was filming them. Yeah, exactly. And and it's funny because I've had a producer contact us. One was just for help finding locations and stuff like that, and the haunted places. So I emailed her back. I told her some stories, or whatever. That was it. And then another one, a show ended up coming out of it. It's on the TLC network, and there was another show that I will talk about. I got an email saying they were doing a show of naked ghost hunters, and I'm like, what?
No.
Naked ghost hunters.
That is
I don't see the demand for that for some reason. I'm just not seeing the demand.
That was my first response. I'm like, are you making a porn? Like, what is this all about? So I didn't respond to that. I was like, yeah, I'm good. And obviously that's never come out. Unless it's a porn and they made a porn of it. I don't know.
But like naked afraid. Might as well do naked and investigating. I don't know what else they would call it.
Naked and possessed, or
naked and possessed. Hey, let's do it ourselves.
But yeah, no, and that makes sense. And like you said, they do own you. And my buddy, like I've talked about, I had a buddy that was a producer on Taps the first, I think 2 seasons, definitely the first season. I think it was the first 2, and he talks about it, and he's like, yeah, very quickly we realized it was all about the jump scare. So we just manipulated sounds in a certain way, not everything, but that's what he was saying with a lot of it. It was just,
so you have to create something for a show.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, so we amplify like a slight sound, we amplify to like an ungodly amount, so it sounds like something different. They just do stuff. And yeah, I mean, I personally, we put in all this hard work, and then we say we did, and then they're just doing that and just trying to make a buck off it. Fuck that, man.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, you get into the field to find out. I did to find out if ghosts exist and find out proof that they actually exist. Well, if I'm going to sell my soul to a producer, I've given that up. I've basically saying I don't care about that anymore, and I just want. No, I'm not saying about Taps or anybody on the team that's on the show. I'm not saying it for myself. I've sold my soul, and I've given up trying to find out for myself if they exist. Now, the skeptic on the other side can say, well, it can also open doors to places that you wouldn't normally get to investigate. And that is true. The problem is, it goes back to what you were saying, Tom. Well, now they're creating stuff for the camera, though. So you're in Ireland, for instance, an old country, and let's say one of the oldest mansions that's got extreme activity. How do you know what's real and what's fake? What they set up. So how do I know what ghost is real? What ghost is, like, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, it's like, no, I can't do that. Now, if you told me I'd be a billionaire, well, maybe, but like, I'm not a person that needs to be famous. I'm not a person that needs the limelight. Just want to live life, have fun, hang with my friends, do some investigating. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's like when you're doing a TV show or a movie and stuff, you're on time, their schedule, their time constraints. They, everything, it's on their dime. You know what I mean? So it's like you lose control of something that is yours or ours or something. Just and it's like now because of these time constraints, you're cutting corners and doing shady and weird things just to amp up ramp up ratings or whatever. So yeah, I can totally see it. You got to be very, very careful doing that. It's like because like you said, you put your name down.
I enjoy taking Shae into a house and telling the woman, yeah, your brother and sister are here haunting the house. Oh yeah, and there's a little boy in the corner holding his throat. That's freaking awesome. That's all I need to hear, and I'm all giddy. The house next door. Rick used to own it. Him and his brother. A good friend of mine would live there for a while, and she was hearing marbles roll across the floor, seeing things. So Shae comes over and tells her all this stuff without even knowing she had a brother and sister, without even knowing who they were, without knowing anything.
Which I think that's 5.
And it freaked the woman out. Like she just was like, oh, like that made my night. That was the greatest thing ever.
That's awesome.
It was like,
no. Usually when I can pull out a name, it kind of eliminates any doubt. I can't always pull out names. Like usually I can pull out a similar name because I can't always. Sometimes it's muffled. But when I can pull out the names, usually that's the difference. I'm thinking I'm kind of pulling a leg, or like, wow, okay, you're serious. So
I bring about Shae all the time at work because I'll tell the story about how she messaged me on Facebook about, someone's talking to me about you, and we started talking. We found out it was my godmother, who's also my aunt.
Yeah, you told me the story.
Yeah, and I tell everyone that story, and it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah. Cool when you got a solid name and you get it right on the nose like that, it's a little easier. Because I remember being a kid and like my mom's not really into like the paranormal, but her friends are and stuff, and sometimes they would do like parties where they did tarot cards or psychic readings. They would just like a group of her girlfriends get together and somebody would throw that party. And I remember one time coming home, she's like, well, yeah, this psychic, she seemed to know, she knew that I had 2 boys. I'm like, I was like, come on. 2, like, I mean, the average house was what, 2.2 children, you know what I mean? Like, and so from there, you got a 50-50 shot on what they are or whatever it is, and figure that it was all super general, vague stuff. So
a lot of the time when they do the parties like that, a lot of times they're really generalizing because they'll have everybody that they're reading in the room. They'll be like, there's an S name. Of course there's an S name.
Yeah.
I have an S name. You have an S name in your family. I'm sure you do. Yeah. And then there's older gentlemen, your grandfather.
Yeah.
Of course there's a grandfather or an older uncle, because who hasn't lost their grandfather or a great grandfather or something by this point? Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it's so easy to get that draw. And be like, oh, okay. And then you can narrow it down, like, oh, you're the S name and he's older. Is it a Steven? Is it a Sean? You start naming S names. So eventually they're so eager, they're like, yes, it's Sean or whatever.
Which is why you impress me, Shae, because like, you always come up with specifics. Not always, but generally, more often than not, when we go to a case, like Shae will tell me, like, I would bring her with me when we had a potential case. And she'd be like, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know anything. And so I wouldn't say anything.
That. I like that too.
And then we'd go there, and all of a sudden, people are like, yeah. Like, she wouldn't ask questions. She just says blah, 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 blah. She's not saying, is blah, 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 or do you, or there's no question.
Yeah, she's not
Is
fishing.
this, and this. If it is, great. If not,
sometimes I'm not letting it happen.
Yeah.
But I don't like fudging it. I don't, if I can't come up with a specific name, like if I'm getting the S sound, I'll say, listen, I'm getting an S sound, but this is a specific teacher. He has blue eyes or he has blonde hair, and I'm one-on-one. I'm never in this room of people who might have some guy.
Right.
That's the best with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to guess as little as possible because these details are so personal to some people, be it I don't even know, like the freckle or the mole. It's so personal because these are people that they love and they lost, and I can never fudge it. If I can't come up with the information, I can't come up with the information. I won't lie about it. I just can't.
Right.
And that's great. You shouldn't, like, in my opinion, people, you're exploiting these people's tragedy. Not you, like psychics and stuff, they're exploiting tragedies to make a buck half the time, and it goes from being harmless to very questionable really quickly in that field. I feel like with a lot of psychics and that mumbo stuff. So yeah.
All right. I think I want to end this on that note. Shae is a highly valued member of our team without question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And she's a great and the funny thing is about Shae is she's a great investigator on top of it. It's not like she's just a psychic or a sensitive or has an ability. All these people say, as these people say, because people say, "Oh, you're a psychic," or it has a label, and we don't put a label on Shae. We just say, she's special.
Okay.
And she's a good investigator. Our whole team, a bunch of good people, and we're here to help. And if people want help, you can get us at Reaper Paranormal Investigations on Facebook. You can get a hold of us at parareaper@gmail.com. That's PARAREAPER01@gmail.com. And we're here to help. And I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this little episode today. And we are not going to be here next week. We're going to take Christmas off. So everybody have a Merry Christmas. And we will see you guys soon. Thank you for listening. Any final words, guys, before I log off?
Nope.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, happy holidays, guys.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all that good stuff.
Yep.
Bye-bye.